Hello Year 10 and welcome to this short guided video taking you through today's lesson work. So today we're focusing, and this half term in fact, we're starting to focus on English Language Paper 2, and you can see the details of how that's broken down here. The key difference between Paper 1 and Paper 2 is that Paper 2 asks you to look at two sources rather than one, and these sources are now non-fiction. So this is writing with very deliberate purpose, but these aren't stories, these are journalistic accounts, diaries, letters, this kind of information. Now, the first thing I want you to do, please, is take some time to read sources A and B that have also been attached for you. So you have here two articles, one by a writer called Sophie Haydock. This is your 21st century piece, and then the second is a piece by the 19th century writer Charles Dickens, who you're obviously familiar with from A Christmas Carol. And what I want you to do is take about 10 to 15 minutes to pick out what you think are some of the key details, perhaps highlight any words you don't understand. Just start to think about the sequencing and the organisation of the text. So for example, you can see here initially the first four paragraphs of Haydock's work are all quite similar. They're relatively short and relatively snappy, so she's providing key bits of information. It'd be useful to start thinking about breaking down, right, what's the key information in this paragraph, what's the key information in this paragraph. When you move on to the Dickens, straight away you can see a much longer, more descriptive paragraph in the opening. Now you know Dickens primarily is a fictional writer, so that's perhaps no surprise. So again, it's more descriptive, it's more lucid writing in certain ways. And again, it would be a really useful thing to start finding out, right, what is each paragraph about? What is each paragraph focusing on? How do these things work? Just immediately you look at the opening here, the restlessness of a great city, as opposed to the start here, after a night sleeping rough in a cardboard box. So one is quite prosaic and the other is quite poetic, and you can already get quite a good sense of the two articles from that. So as I say, take 10 to 15 minutes to really read these articles thoroughly, and that's the sort of time you should spend reading them in the examination as well. When you've done that, what I want you to then do is identify which of these four statements you think are true. So I want you to write the title, Paper 2 English Language in your exercise book, and then question 1. And then just write the four statements which you think are true. Again, give yourself 5 to 10 minutes to do this, and so pause the video now and then have a look at these statements, cross-reference them with your first article. Which of these statements are true? It is only 4 of them which are true. You need to be specific and clear with your writing. You don't get an extra mark if you choose a 5th statement, because there aren't 5 true statements. Now, the next question we want you to work on, question 2, like in paper 1, is worth 8 marks. But this question now asks you to refer to both sources. And what the examiner wants you to do is use the details from both sources to write a summary of the different experiences of the writers. I've given you some extra detail here. A summary means you need to sum up the text. You must use quotations to support your points and make inferences. You're not analysing language in this section. You're thinking about the summary of explicit and implicit information. Now, what I want you to do now is to create a table in your exercise book, source A, source B, very simple T table like this, where what are the key details? So Sophie Haydock is sleeping rough, Sophie Haydock discovers many threats, and then you need to do similarly something for Dickens. So remember, you're writing from the whole source, so you probably want to have 4 or 5 points for each aspect of your table. And again, give yourself, I'd say, 10 minutes to work on that and complete it and do it to a good standard. The next thing I want you to do is to start thinking about how you can break things down and develop them. So for example, in my example table, I picked this one, Sophie Haydock discovers many threats that homeless people have to face. And I've created a quotation for each one of these. What I want you to do is then go to the other things that you've picked out. So when you go back to your T table, you think, okay, so I've used this one here. You now need to do the same thing for this quote here. You now need to do the same thing for the Dickens quotes here. So what you're doing is you're pulling out one of your key ideas here and you're adding 2 or 3 quotations to it, and then that just gives you some depth. The next thing that you do, so we're just modelling this through for you, is having done those quotations, now start to add what you can infer. So you're probably going to need a page in your exercise book to be able to do this. It might be a good idea to present that page landscape so it's really clear. And as you can see, so rats, thugs, police officers moving you on, Haydock may feel threatened during her experience. So now we're inferring from the quotation the information about Haydock, and you need to do that for both A and for B. And again, that should take you about 10 to 15 minutes to do that thoroughly and to do that well. The last thing I want you to do, and this again is to be done in your exercise books, is to actually answer the following question. Refer to source A and source B. Both Haydock and Dickens describe their experiences on the streets. Use details from both sources to write a summary of their different experiences. So I've given you an opportunity and a start on this, and if you look at this, what's really important in this first paragraph is I refer to both articles pretty quickly. What you don't want to do is have really a whole section on the Sophie Haydock piece and then a whole section on the Charles Dickens piece, because I shouldn't be able to take a pair of scissors and essentially cut your essay up or cut your answer up into a Sophie Haydock response and a Charles Dickens response. The whole time should be merging. So for example, whilst it is clear, and then on the other hand, firstly Sophie Haydock discusses, on the other hand Charles Dickens discusses. Those sort of phrases, those sort of wording is what you need to be doing. So just to recap briefly, what we need to be doing today is thinking about paper 2. You need to pick out 4 true statements from question 1 and write them down. That's from the source A Sophie Haydock 21st century article anyway. Then you need to create a T-table pulling out the key differences and summaries of source A and source B. Then for 2 or 3 quotations from each of the articles, you need to, for 2 or 3 points, you need to pull out 2 or 3 quotations, and adding to those 2 or 3 quotations, you add some inference. The last thing that you're doing is you're then answering the following question using this starting section as a model, and an 8-mark question you probably want to be writing between half a page and 3/4 of a page. That's about the amount you'd want to write in the exam, perhaps at the very most a page, but again you want to be limiting yourself, writing in an organised specific way, and remember, you're not discussing language, you're discussing explicit and implicit ideas. I hope this video was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon in live lessons, and take care of yourself, and I hope you and your families are well. Alright, speak to you soon, Year 10. Bye.